Hi everyone, my name is Joseph-Alexandre, and today I wanted to speak directly to queer people from Arab, North African, and Coptic backgrounds. Anyone who grew up in a culture where family and community mean everything, and yet had to protect themselves by stepping away, just like I did. I didn't plan on sharing this part of my story publicly, and I honestly don't think I ever planned to until recently, but I know how isolating it can feel when you come from a culture where family is central, and somehow, despite all expectations of closeness, you end up standing completely alone. I grew up in a very tight knit Coptic family, surrounded by tradition and responsibility and a deep sense of belonging. And like many of you, I also grew up queer. But that was a very quiet part, carefully trying to fit into expectations and trying to make it work, and somehow it just never aligned with who I was. There was a lot of dissonance there. So when I finally came out, everything changed. One of the hardest moments of my life was hearing my father say, "Change your last name and leave." Those words didn't just push me out of a home, they really tore through my identity. Because in our cultures, a last name isn't just a name, it's a history, a duty, honor, ancestry, and community all at once. I mean, for the long time, your last name was your father's name. So when a parent asks you to erase it, it doesn't just feel like rejection, it feels like exile. And so I made the decision a couple of years after that of going limited contact toward no contact. And that wasn't out of anger, but really out of self-protection. Staying meant that I had to slowly disappear into a version of myself that wasn't real to cater to my mother and my father and their perceptions and what would people think and what the community would think. And so there's something that a lot of people don't understand about this choice that a lot of people have to make. No contact comes with collateral loss, especially in tight knit cultural communities. You don't just lose one relationship, you don't just lose your nuclear family, you lose extended family, community circles, childhood friends, contact with close cousins, rituals, celebrations, the familiar sounds and rhythms of your childhood. For me, that was the sounds of the church gym, or going to conventions and seeing people outside of my immediate church community, or even the sound of the cymbals and the triangles and the rhythm of the beat of our chants and our prayers in mass. But you also lose the illusion that blood automatically means safety. And behind all that protection, there's a lot of grief. Really silent grief. Grieving the parent that you wished someday could understand you. Grieving the place in the family system that we have. Grieving cultural rituals and traditions. Grieving the version of yourself who tried to belong, who tried to fit in. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. I'm going to hold both of your hands again when I say this. You do not lose your culture by protecting yourself. You get to reclaim it on your own terms. And for me, that was food. So, no, no contact didn't end my story. Actually, it really opened it up. Rebuilding wasn't easy. It came really slowly. But it came through chosen family, through queer community, meeting other Arab and North African and even sometimes Coptic people who had to walk the same road. Maybe they were on different parts of that path, but still, I found them and they found me. And through relationships that are rooted in respect and consent and authenticity, instead of this game of what'll people think and what'll the community think and what'll Jesus think and what'll God do to when God judges me for my sins. Um, Bit by bit, I built a sense of belonging that was not conditional, a sense of safety that didn't require hiding, a sense of family that wasn't tied to fear or a sense of duty. And if you're navigating this right now, please hear this. You're allowed to be queer. You are allowed to be Arab. You're allowed to be North African. You're allowed to be Coptic. You're allowed to walk away from what hurts. And you're allowed to rebuild something more gentle, more true, more coherent, less dissident. And today I work as a relational support counselor in Quebec called thérapeute en relation d'aide. And I offer support around boundaries, identity transitions, emotional well-being, chosen family, and always within the scope of what we call in Quebec Law 21. So it's non-psychotherapy support, but it's still coaching accompaniment. And, to every queer person from cultures, from my kind of culture, or other cultures that resemble it, that is watching this right now, you can rebuild. You can find connection again. It doesn't have to be to your family. It could be reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to your culture in other ways, to other people. And you can create a life that's rooted in truth, in coherence, that's not in fear, that's not in dissonance. And you do not have to walk this path alone. If ever you want a gentle, culturally sensitive space to talk about this experience, to walk through this experience, to have some support, please send me a message if you want to connect. It would be my pleasure to support you. And I wish you all the best. You take care.